What is up, guys? It is Joe. We are back. We're talking ball about the Cats today, and as you can see from the background, I'm in a different spot. I'm up in Minnesota. I've actually just made the move. For those of you that may have missed the update that happened this past week, which is kind of why I was radio silent in that front, for better or worse, but I know the walls behind me are pretty green. I'm definitely going to get some stuff up that kind of adds to the background at the moment, but for the sake of today, we're going with that Masters green approach to the walls behind me. In case you haven't heard, K-State's been in a dead period for basketball recruiting, but that's not going to stop us from talking about the Cats today, talking about the transfer portal a little bit, as I break down what I think is next for Kansas State with the last two roster spots, which direction should the Cats go, and where that takes us from here. But before I get into all of that and more, let me just tell you this. If you like the channel, if you like K-State Athletics, this is the place for you. Now that I'm through the move, I'll be making just about daily videos, every other day videos, something in that, general area. Not to put a number on it, but something in that area. If you like the Cats, this place might be for you. Consider leaving that subscription. It does help me out immensely, and it's completely free for you to do. So, looking at the roster, first things first, we talked about it, about a week and a half ago. It feels like a year ago. K-State landed Achor, the big-time splash player through the portal, in addition to Doug McDaniel, the Samford forward. He's going to be a monster. I mean, we talked about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat expectations. The dude is legit, and he can absolutely play. A huge, huge addition. No understating that. And K-State has been in some big, major talks with the last two roster spots, most notably including Ugonna Onyenso, the Kentucky transfer big man, someone that K-State's been linked to already. If he does come back to college, it sounds like that's going through the works right now. I don't entirely know the process. I'm not that much of an insider at all, so can't really give you a heads up on that. But if he comes back to college, expect K-State to be a major player. And that tells you a lot about the way the staff views the roster. Not saying they're not comfortable with the guys they have rolling at the 5, but that is a big-time impact guy. These last two spots aren't necessarily for upside guys at this point. And I've said it a little bit in the past, but I'm not sitting here to say you need two major impact guys. But why the hell not swing for the fences? I mean, this isn't a situation where you need to look for an infield single and then stretch it to a double. Like, you can absolutely go yard off the first pitch here if you get the right guys. And there's a couple of people in the top 10 already that K-State's been linked to or has at least been entertaining the idea of. But overall, from where I stand on the roster right now, you need two things. I view our team like this. You can either get away with having 4 starters right now on the main roster, or you can have 3 with the guys you have already. We all know Doug McDaniel starting at point guard. No one's going to change that. The 2 guard has been a topic of conversation that a bunch of people have discussed of who's going to be here, who's going to do what. I am here to say it's going to be C.J. Jones. I feel great about C.J. Jones. Not saying it won't be Max Jones, not saying it can't be David Castillo or anything like that, but from where I stand, from my vantage point, I think C.J. Jones is the optimum player for that spot. Even though he spent most of his time at USC as a point guard, he can definitely fill that role with his size, with his ability, with his passing vision. He's got a lot of different things going for his skill set there. The 3 is a spot that I think is a question mark right now. Are there guys on the roster actively that could fill it? Yes. However, there's a lot of question marks about which guys would step into what role. The 3 is one where I look at and say, okay, 3 different dudes could start here if, things go their way, things don't go their way, whatever the case is. There's a couple of guys you could pencil in there. I view the 3 spot as the first of 2 scholarship spots that K-State's looking for. I think you need a scoring wing, someone that can put the ball in the bucket. We saw K-State miss on Caliph battle, and that's okay. I mean, they did what they can. They did the best they could, and I'm not sitting here to say they won't have a better option. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that at all, but I do think that K-State's going to have someone when it's all said and done that we say, okay, clearly if you gave me the 2 options at the beginning of the season, I would have said this is just as good, if not better than the alternative. I still have faith that K-State gets that done. And then your 4 spot, we know it's Achor. It's either Achor playing the 4 spot or the 5 spot, depending on how the next couple of weeks work out. The dead period does end June 3rd, so expect K-State to be back on the horse quickly after. But in my mind, it works one of 2 ways. The first being Achor wants to be a 4. You want him at the 4, even though he primarily played 5 at Samford. You can play him at the 4, let him be the player he is, don't touch a thing. If you get Ugonna Onyenso, run him as your starting 5. If you don't get him, that's totally okay. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't get a guy like Coleman Hawkins, who they've been linked to from, I think it was CBS Sports' Matt Norlander, if I remember a couple of videos back. Coleman Hawkins is in that conversation. JT Toppin's been kicked around a little bit. There's a couple of different bigs that you could target, and K-State seems to do a great job of identifying. Speaking of which, I should mention it. We've had some comments on the channel asking about Baba Miller, and I'm pretty sure that the writing's on the wall saying that if we haven't heard at this point, it's probably not going to work out for us. I think he's pretty much, an FAU guy, but it is really interesting to me that he hasn't committed yet. So maybe Baba's still kicking that idea around. Maybe there's still some type of thing there. I'm not trying to inspire hope because I don't know what the heck's going on, but I will plant my flag here. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Sue me. This isn't me being an insider. This is me being a fan. I think K-State is going to land Ugonna Onyenso. That is my pick. That is my guess. I'm going to stand by that as of right now. And that brings you one spot left to fill. And I think you look at the 3 spot, kind of that scoring guy. Okay, who can we line up out there? Who can be our best player on any given night? That kind of Keontae Johnson aspect. I know Keontae played a lot of small ball 4, but who can you put out at 3 who can put the ball in the hoop? And that question begs a couple of different answers. I think for the Ugonna Onyenso situation, it's either going to be Ugonna, it's going to be Coleman Hawkins. I think JT Toppin's a Texas Tech guy, it sounds like, or Texas, one of the two down there in the South. I think it's going to be something in that area. But if you're K-State, you're going to take a big swing at Ugonna Onyenso. It's already been mentioned that, hey, you're a major player to watch there. If you land him, that's great. If you miss out and you go after Coleman Hawkins, whatever the case is, there's going to be an argument to say, how do we view this roster? As of right now, I'm putting it out there. I think K-State will get it done with Ugonna Onyenso. I don't know if that's the truth or not. I haven't heard anything. I don't really have any information, especially considering it's a dead period. But overall, the fan in me feels good about it. This is just a gut feeling. If that reality comes to fruition, I don't know if it's the truth. I don't know if that's the way it's going to work out. But if you land Ugonna, I think you put him at the 5. He's your starter. He's going to get you a ton of minutes. You have a chore at the 4. And your 3 could be a couple of different guys. I think there's names out in the portal that K-State could go after. You saw them, chasing Miles Kelly from Georgia Tech, just committed to Auburn, I believe. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 different guys that could slide into that spot. In a perfect world, and I'm not saying it's going to happen because I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of different variables that goes into this. I would love to have Arthur Kaluma back. You look at that roster and you see Doug McDaniel, CJ Jones, Arthur Kaluma, Achor, and Ugonna Onyenso. That feels like a top 10, top 15 team. However, Art isn't the end of the line. Like, it's not if Art's not here, we're screwed, because there's a lot of talented guards out there that can fill that spot. And I want to mention a few just real quick right off the rip to give you guys an idea of who to look for. I'm not going to do a ton of highlights in this because it's going to be a quick breakdown, but I just wanted to put it out there. Jamir Watkins, the number 1 player in the portal as of right now on 247 Sports. He's a Florida State transfer as well. He's 6'7", small forward guard, kind of plays that Keontae role. He would be a massive addition. Jaylen Wells, similar. I don't know where Kansas State stands on any of these guys, but there are talented scorers that can put the ball in the hoop. Wooga Poplar, a little bit smaller than the previous 2 guys, but he can step into that role. Jackson Robinson's another one. I don't think he's going to end up at K-State. I don't know that he's even going to end up back in college basketball. The BYU transfer, we saw how talented of a scorer that kid is. He fits that role. We kind of need a guy in that 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", whatever you want to do. Can you score? Can you go get buckets? I would take Art in a heartbeat. I would take any of the guys I've already mentioned in the heartbeat. And one more I'll add to that conversation. Eastern Washington guard Cedric. The dude can absolutely score. I love his game film. He's a dude that would have successful splits. I know it's a jump from Eastern Washington to the Big 12, but he could absolutely make that jump. But I wanted to put some stuff out there and talk about a couple guys that could fit that spot. I also trust the staff to identify somebody. I mean, I know they already identified a guy like Moby. I know they already identified Max Jones, guys that people were interested in, but they quickly and effectively wrapped up those recruitments. You saw what happened with Achor. I expect K-State to at least take a swing at some of these guys. If not, I expect them to identify the right guy and have that type of player. So whether that means they roll in with a guy that's already on the roster at the 3 or not, I think you'll see some variation of a Doug McDaniel, CJ Jones, talented scorer from the transfer portal at the 3. You'll have Achor at the 4 or the 5, depending on how this 5 battle recruitment goes for Ugonna Onyenso, but that would be what I think is going to happen as of right now. It's all pretty general. These are all just guesses, but as of right now, that's kind of where I feel K-State's at. Will it change? Absolutely. It's going to change here soon, and we'll have more to go off of in the next couple weeks or so, just based on the fact that the dead period ends on June the 3rd, so we'll have a little bit more of an update on that. But as it sits right now, it's not impossible that K-State has a commit already lined up or has somebody in the fold that they're eyeing saying, okay, we're ready for this whenever, but they can't really visit campus until the 3rd at least, so there's going to be that argument, not saying guys can't commit without seeing the campus. But I would expect K-State to go hardball for both Ugonna Onyenso and a talented scorer at that 3 position, at that wing position, whether that be Art coming back or a new guy in the portal. I would watch out for those 2 things. If I'm a K-State fan, I'm looking for those 2 things to happen. If not, there's going to be better times ahead. We're going to have different players, interested in K-State. Could it work out with Baba Miller? Sure. Could it work out with different guys we've talked to like Wooga Poplar in the past? Sure. As it sits right now, I feel pretty good about Arthur Kaluma, Jamir Watkins. I feel good about Cedric Coward. Nobody's really been linked to Cedric Coward. Nobody's really, heard much on that recruitment, but that's an option for sure. And I feel good about Ugonna Onyenso. So those are spots where K-State could turn, and we'll see what happens. I'm just putting it out there right now for you guys because not only did I want to make a video to see, remind you guys I'm not dead, make sure everybody knows I'm okay, but just wanted to update you guys and talk all about the cats because we love doing that on the channel. But guys, I'm going to get out of here today. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit, talk some shop. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you soon, hopefully with some more news updates. Go Cats!